Teresa Lemon Grover. I am Tara's mom. Welcome to our channel, That's Just Tara. And today we are going to be talking about the case of Rolandito, the missing child from Puerto Rico since 1999. I'm actually really going to be reacting to the case because I am not fully knowledgeable on the story, and neither does anyone know exactly what happened. But I'm going to be reacting to so far what I do know about it. So, as many of you know, Rolandito disappeared from a playground across from his house back in 1999, and I do, from my understanding, it's going to be the anniversary. I think in a couple of days. So in my opinion, and I'm going to be very honest with everyone, from this 42-year-old right here, I do believe, in my opinion, that with everything that has shown in the news and social media, I don't think really wants to be found, and this is the reason why. And I think, there's a lot of people that have talked about it, but I'm going to just give my take. He was raised by maybe somebody or a family that provided him with care, with love. They may have nurtured him throughout all these years, in the case that he is still alive, right? And so, with that, I believe that the child inside of him believes that he owes that loyalty back to that person or group of people that were in charge of him throughout all these years. And because of that, he may feel like if he ever comes forward and says something or tries to get close to the relatives that he once lost, it's going to be a complete act of disloyalty, if that's how you say it, excuse me, towards the ones who raised him. And in my opinion, and I'm going to give my disclaimer right here. This video is only for entertainment purposes only. There is no professional advice here whatsoever. There is no medical advice. There is no financial advice. There is no legal advice. There is no mental health advice in here whatsoever. Okay, so like I was saying before, I do believe that if he is alive, um, he may not want to be found because, again, he feels like he would be disloyal to the person or the family that may have provided him with all the care. You're going to be able to find this video in the playlist Lifestyle and Parenting Mystery Playlist, because I know I have been teasing you guys with that mystery playlist. Um, Also, you're going to be able to find it in my mental health playlist. Don't forget to check out that playlist below in the description. You're going to be able to find those links. As soon as I'm done doing this live, I'm going to be able to post them. Like I said, for those of you who just got here, I do believe, in my opinion, that if he is alive, he wouldn't want to be found because of the person or the people that he grew up around with or with, provided him with the love and the care, or nurtured him with what he needed. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to say is my opinion when it comes to that really reminds me a lot of parental alienation cases. Why is that? Because in parental alienation cases, there are two types of those, in my opinion. In parental alienation cases, you're going to see the other parent or the grandparent or whoever is raising that kid literally snatch that kid either too fast or do it slowly, end up doing it by the courts. They'll find their ways. And then all of a sudden, as that child grows up, that child is so small that when they get older, they don't really remember a lot of what has happened. or maybe they don't remember at all. And so as they grow up, they're given a story, they're given only one version of that story, right? And I talk more about parental alienation in a video that I made specifically about parental alienation. You're going to be able to find the link to that video below in the description. Okay, so what happens is that as a child grows up, in my opinion, in parental alienation cases, they get brainwashed to think, hey, the other parent that you grew up with did this to you, or they didn't care enough. And so I will provide the love and the care that you need. Or they just condition that child to think like, hey, I'm really the only one. The only person will never care about you at all. And they'll do it with, they'll actually play the role for real nurturing parent. And so this is why this reminds me of kidnapping cases. And I really don't think that the world talks about it enough. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that in parental alienation cases, um, it's something that, in my opinion, I don't think it is actually cared about by the courts. Why? Because, in my opinion, a lot of the courts believe that parental alienation is not really parental alienation and it's just a theory. And again, you can find more information about that, or a whole video that I made about it in a link in the description below. As soon as I'm done doing the video, I'm going to go ahead and put all those links below. Please remember, this video only for entertainment purposes only. No professional advice, no legal advice, no financial advice, no mental health advice, no life coaching advice. Okay, so the courts pretty much think it's like a beef. And then when that parent um, wants to try to claim something in court, it ends up being like, hey, you don't have enough evidence because you both have the parents and you both have the rights. And how sad it is that sometimes there will be some instances, or most instances, there isn't really enough evidence. Why? Because there is a parental alienation case, and because it's parental, it's not considered kidnapping. But a lot of parents that are victims of parental alienation, they do know that it is really a form of kidnapping. And when it comes to parental alienation, a lot of people confuse the term of parental alienation. um, Parental alienation is when the other parent or the other grandparent has basically deprived the actual biological parent from spending time with their children. They, have them grow up thinking like, they didn't do enough for you. They're the bad ones in the picture. The other side of it that people don't understand is a lot of people that voluntarily don't even try at all to be part of the kids' lives, or if they try to be part of the kids' lives, they'll be like, oh yeah, let's meet up somewhere, or let's meet on a certain date. And then the when it comes to that date, or when it approaches, they just disappear. They don't call, they're a no-show. Okay, and that a person that does that, in my opinion, cannot claim at all there is parental alienation. If that child decides, hey, I am not going to go through this all the time because that hurts me, right? Now, that is not parental alienation. If the child decides, hey, I don't think this is going to be good for my mental health, and the parent says, yeah, I don't think it's good for your mental health. And so when the child decides to be away, and the parent decides that it is actually true, I don't want my child to be affected emotionally because of that. Let's say, for example, they move to a different part of the state or what have you. And, let's say, for example, the other parent that actually did that, maybe because of, causes of, addiction or maybe other lifestyle situations. Yeah. So in that case, it's no parental alienation, right? And so sometimes parental alienation just happens very slow, or it may happen very fast. For example, you could see some couples that say, hey, if you do not stay with me, if you divorce me, I'm going to make sure I take those kids away from you. And it actually happens. Maybe in the beginning, they might be like, hey, they really plan it. They wait until a vulnerable state. And let's say, for example, if you were a stay-at-home parent and the other parent was working, they make sure that you're in a vulnerable state so that they get to that moment where they can make the changes by court. And then after that, the person might end up homeless and they may be having a hard time. The person, as they start getting up slowly, then it becomes impossible for them to regain that relationship back that they want with that child. Why? Because that child has been conditioned mentally to think that the alienator has been there for them and has been the only one there for them. So there have been cases of parental alienation where the biological parent makes an agreement with the alienator, and they say, okay, yes, we're going to meet at a certain time and date. The victim of the alienation travels from, I don't know where, maybe 2 hours away or whatever. When it's time to meet, they knock on the door. There's no answer. They text. There's no answer. There's multiple calls. There's no answer. And then a lot of people are going to say, well, yeah, but there is a court, order. You have to call the cops. Yes, there is a court order. You have to call the cops, but if they don't want to open the door at that moment, they just don't. They can just pretend they're not there, right? And not the child, but the parent itself. And then eventually it ends up being like beef, to the court. So, and this is why I think personally that parental alienation cases need to be talked about more often. Now back to the case of Rolandito. This is more or less what I'm thinking it happens. Um, this child is placed into a completely separate household if he is alive, of course, He starts growing up with a family or with a person that provides them that care, that love, that nurturing, right? And the other person, obviously, in my opinion, right? In my opinion, let's put it that way, has a narcissistic personality, right? Starts telling the child, look, the other person is not going to be around. The other person did this to you. And since you're a child, they don't know anything else other than what they're surrounded with. They're going to believe what the person is saying. That person is providing them the shelter, the food, the love. And usually these kidnappers, or how I also describe them as alienators, because they're alienators themselves too. Um, they will give an amazing type of raising. They will provide them with, all the amazing things that a child needs in their life, except for that one missing part, the love from the real parents. And that's the sad thing. That's a very, very, very sad thing. And I think it shouldn't happen. Um, but at this point, in my opinion, I do not think, like I said before, he will come forward because he was provided with a lot of care. He was provided with a lot of love. How did this come about? How the kidnapper was never caught? It just it just blows my mind in a negative way, right? How did that person never got caught? And again, I want to say that in my opinion, that child is not that Rolandito, if he's still alive, it's not like he's scared that they're going to put that person in jail, I would think that he is already conditioned to love that person because that person raised him. And if he did something other than showing them that loyalty back, then he would feel as if he betrayed that person, and that person would make them feel that he was the biggest traitor in the world. Unless Rolandito wakes up and says, hey, I should come forward and be willing to listen to that other side of the story, then maybe if he wakes up and says, hey, let me just listen because I'm not going to lose anything if I just listen. It doesn't mean that I'm going to make a decision. But if I just listen to the other side of the story, then maybe I may understand a little bit. I will have the option later on to make a decision whether I believe it or not. But at least I'm going to listen to that side of the story. And this goes out to any person that was kidnapped when they were a child, or that they believe they were alienated when they were a child. My message to you is be willing, excuse me, to listen to the other side of the story, even if you're not going to make any decisions of be fully committed to start over a relationship with the people that initially started raising you. Even if you're not willing to do that, at least be willing to listen to their side of the story, because sometimes these parents, where they are have their child's missing, or whether they are victims of parental alienation, are scared to talk and speak out because of some of the injustices that may happen coming from the government. Okay, I want to thank you so much for being here today. If you found this video valuable, interesting, please hit the like button, hit subscribe, and I will see you next time.